Every day we chant the meal gathas. And I was thinking about them, and a particular line struck me. And I was thinking, I bet I've chanted those meal gathas thousands of times. And just chanting it this week, something really struck me, that I hadn't reflected on very deeply before. The part that says, first, this food is for the three treasures. Second, it's for our teachers, parents, nation, and all sentient beings. Third, it's for all beings in the six worlds. Thus, we eat this food with everyone. Well, how can we eat this food with everyone? What does that really mean? Now, does that mean when I'm eating that the starving Sudanese is enjoying the benefits of my eating? Because I'm eating it with everyone, it has to include everyone. When the Buddha was enlightened, he said that I and all beings everywhere are simultaneously enlightened. He said, I and all beings everywhere. So when he was enlightened, we were all enlightened. Why are we still starving? So what is this connection? Brother and Dharma teacher Bernie Glassman used to say that Zen, the meaning of Zen, or the purpose or the practice of Zen, is to realize the oneness in the interdependence of life. The oneness and the interdependence. And we say that beings are numberless, I vow to receive them, or creations are numberless, I vow to receive them. To receive them means to become one. And not only to show our interdependence, but also our identity with them, with everything. And when we totally identify, there's no them. And there's no me either. So thus we eat this food with everyone. Maybe I should say, thus we eat this food as everyone. But, the point of the chant is that this food comes to us from everyone. Without the efforts of everyone, you couldn't be eating. Nobody does anything on their own. That's why we're always so appreciative of the energy and the effort and the work that you put into the Abbey when you come here. We've talked about it, how we're all interpenetrate, interdependent. So everything is one body. That's what the Sesshin means, Sesshin, two characters, Ses and Shin. Shin means mind or heart, and Sesh means to unify. Sesshin means to unify the heart, to become one heart. 20 people sitting together, eating together, working together, breathing together. When our minds become fixed in certain ways, we're not open to other possibilities. So when it says that we eat this meal with everyone, there's a certain energy going on there that we have to be open to. So Dogen wrote a fascicle, which is a chapter. I never heard the word fascicle before, but they use that for chapters of the Shobogenzo. It's a fancy word for chapter. Dogen wrote these chapters in the Shobogenzo. One of them is called Shoji, which means continuous practice. Continuous practice. And he said the merit of continuous practice upholds oneself and others because it is due to one's own efforts. All of the universe, all the way up to the heavenly abodes, immediately share in its benefits. So what is continuous practice that everybody shares in its benefits? It's when we take our zazen into our life and everything that we do. Now this session, in 24 hours we will have dispersed. But how can we carry it forward, this continuous practice? So we practice whether we're sitting in the zendo or whether we're sitting in the meeting room listening to words, or whether we're working, resting, praying. It goes all the way up to the heavenly abodes. And everyone sharing its benefits. So when we eat with sincerity of heart, everybody shares in that. Because why? Because that energy goes forth. We just put it out there. We don't know how it will be received. That's what our practice is. And that's what our 4 Bodhisattva vows are. Putting that energy out there. And that intention. So I love the 4 Bodhisattva vows, because they're totally impossible. But yet, we put our energy into it. One day of continuous practice becomes the seed of all the Buddhas. That's what we're doing. We're just planting seeds. So these seeds blossom into all the Buddhas. And that's what we're doing here. And that's what our practice is. A monk asked Uman, how do Buddhas appear? And Buddha said, the eastern mountain walks along the stream. See, we don't eat the food just with everyone. Everyone just isn't people. Isn't just animals. It includes peoples, animals, mountains, valleys, rivers. Totally identified with everything. The Buddha appears as the mountains and the rivers and the streams. See, but the mountain walks. There was a lay practitioner, and his name was Shishin. Dogen writes about him in one of his fascicles. It's called The Sound of the Valley and the Color of the Mountain. And this Shishin was walking through the mountains and he heard a mountain stream in a mountain valley. He was in a mountain valley, he heard the stream, and he had a big awakening experience, and he composed this verse. The sound of the valley stream is his great tongue. The colors of the mountain are his pure body. In the night I have heard the 84,000 hymns, but how to tell people the next day? It's nice, 84,000 hymns. I was upstairs in my room, just looking at my notes and thinking about what I'm going to say to you, and then the wind came up. It looked like we might have a little thunderstorm, and I could see all of the leaves rustling, and each leaf was humming a hymn. 84,000 hymns. But then, the next day, didn't know what to say about it. It's not the way it is. My teacher used to always say to me, if you say it clearly, you'll know how to express it. But his verse was really nice because I knew he knew how to express it, but he said, he was just indicating how difficult it was to express it, and his teacher approved him. So when we eat food with everyone, does it not include the mountains and the streams and the valleys? What about the garbage heaps and broken tiles? In the Blue Cliff Records, case 83, Uman said that Buddhas intermingle with beings. What level of activity is this? And the assembly was silent, and then he said, clouds gather over South Mountain, and rain follows over North Mountain. Clouds gather over South Mountain, and rain falls over North Mountain. Cars belch their exhaust. We all gag from the fumes. That's what Roshi Shinko was talking about. This climate change, global warming, ecological disasters. We're all one body, so whatever one person does, it affects everyone. Why is this all possible? How is this all possible? That we're all interconnected like this, and that we don't always function that way. That our actions, spread out like ripples in a pond. We chant the Heart Sutra every day. Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva, doing deep prajna paramita, clearly saw the emptiness of all the 5 conditions. The 5 conditions, those also mean are the 5 skandhas, which are, the conditions that give rise to an individual and awareness and consciousness. And then he says that everything's empty. So form is one of the conditions, it's empty. And he says sensations, another condition, that's empty. Conception's empty, discrimination's empty, awareness is empty. So if everything is empty, what does that mean? It's not fixed. No fixed thing. Because it's no fixed thing, it can appear as the eastern mountain walking along the stream. It can appear as eating this food with everyone, not being stuck anywhere. But then when we're not stuck, when we see that oneness and interconnectedness of life, then we can't allow suffering to go on unabated. That's our Bodhisattva vow. And it comes out of that emptiness. To clearly see the oneness and interconnectedness. That everything we do becomes the seed of all the Buddhas. There's a great Zen master, Wanchi, who lived in the 12th century. Wanchi actually is the one who compiled the Book of Equanimity, which is the book that Maizumi Roshi translated, and I wrote the commentaries for in my Book of Equanimity, and he was the one who compiled it. And he said this: the field of boundless emptiness is what exists from the very beginning. You must purify and heal all tendencies you have fabricated into apparent habits. Then you can reside in the clear circle of brightness. Utter emptiness has no image. Upright independence does not depend on anything. The mind seems to become murky and ceases to reflect faithfully when it holds on to even one of the myriad things that are forever passing peacefully through. Even the difficulties and the pains come and go peacefully if you let them. Don't dwell in the distorting ripples of memory and imagination, but always return to the still point of the present. Let things be just the way they are. So in case 64 of the Book of Equanimity, Master Hogan asks Shiso, he said, among the myriad forms is a solitary body. What does it mean? Among the myriad forms is a solitary body. And the great Master Gensha used to say the entire universe is one bright pearl. And Dharma Master Joe said heaven and earth have the same root. The 10,000 things are one body. It's a single solitary body. We can say that we're all connected, we're all interdependent, which is true. But we're also the same body. So it's not like when we say interdependent, it's like we're distinct, but we depend on each other, but we're not distinct. It's like the ocean, one body, but then all of these waves appear and disappear. We say the waves, are the differences, and the body of the ocean is the sameness, the oneness, and there's different kinds of waves, so, but always we're connected. So, the same root, everything has the same root. The 10,000 things, what are the 10,000 things that have the same root? We can start articulating them. Praise, blame, they have the same root. We like praise, but we don't like blame. But it has the same root. It's part of the one body. It is the one body. So what is that root? Are you aware of the spaciousness that envelops heaven and earth? Praise and blame, and the mountains and the rivers. Are you aware of the silence that drowns out judgments and projections and opinions of your mind? The container of our life is vast and empty, and all of our feelings and emotions and thoughts arise within that spaciousness. And problems arise when we forget about that space and make the objects of our perception solid and immutable. And all of our troubles and all of our problems and all of our confusion at times just seems to cover the whole universe. But if we can just be aware of that spaciousness, that each one of us is, and then what kind of problems are there? The 10,000 things are one body. It's not enough to be one with the Absolute. You're not just the Absolute. You're everything altogether. When subject and object vanish, who are you? When the box and lid perfectly join, there's no discernible seam. When the Absolute and relative interpenetrate, there's no gap. So when he was explaining his comment that the whole universe is one bright pearl, Gensha said, you should know that even in the dark, black mountain cave of demons, complete freedom is working. Even having difficulties is complete freedom. Because like I said, from Honsi, Wanchi said, if we just let things pass through peacefully, what's the problem? You know what the problem is? At least this is my take on it. We think that's who we are. The difficulties and the pain, and without them we'll be nobody. So I'd rather be nobody than somebody who's suffering every little sling and arrow of outrageous fortune. And we can let go, see, of our attachment to our ideas of who we are, our images of who we are. See, and then we can function freely. Zen Master Hogan asked, as it says, among the myriad forms is a solitary manifest body. Does it wipe out the myriad forms, or does it not wipe out the myriad forms? When you realize the boundless, luminous nature that is no nature, does it obscure all the myriad forms? Does it obscure all the ingredients that make up your life? If you say yes, it's a duality, and if you say no, it's a duality. So what is it? There's a famous haiku by Basho that says, no one walks along this path this autumn evening. In the Genjo koan, Dogen Zenji says, when riding on a boat, if one watches the shore, one may assume that the shore is moving. Watching the boat directly, one knows that it is the boat that moves. If one watches the 10,000 dharmas with a deluded body and mind, one will suppose that one's mind and nature are permanent. But if one practices intimately and returns to the true self, it will be clear that the 10,000 dharmas are without self. So what Dogen is pointing to is our attachment to self, attachment to our own mind and our own nature, trying to make it permanent, fixed, trying to ensure our survival. That's how we find our comfort. But it's a very dangerous, false kind of comfort, because things are always changing. There's no fixed thing. That's one of the main marks of the teachings of the Buddha, that everything is impermanent, and that there is no fixed self. And the 10,000 dharmas are without self. Ultimately, our practice, I say, it's not about making a happier version of our deluded self. It's about seeing all dharmas, including me, are without self. We have to trust. What do we trust in? We just trust in our true self, true nature. And what is that? In one verse in the ox-herding pictures, which are up on the wall here, the 8th one, where the herdsman and the ox are both forgotten, it goes like this. What a shame. Previously I wanted to save the world. What a surprise, there's no longer a world to save. Words cannot express how things are with a herdsman in this realm. Predecessor, successor, here there's neither. Answer me. Who can inherit the truth? Who will pass it on? It's like the state of the layman who, was enlightened by the mountain stream in the valley. So first, to realize that empty state. And then, in stage 10, the herdsman enters the marketplace. And the verse says, With bare chest and feet he enters the market. His face is smeared with earth and his head is covered with ashes. A huge laugh streams over his cheeks. Without humbling himself to perform miracles or wonders, he suddenly makes the withered trees bloom. So, how can you make the withered trees bloom? How can I make the withered trees bloom? Huh? Just take your practice wherever you are. In the marketplace, in King Soopers, in the gas station, at work, with friends, alone, with the animals, walking around the city, the country. It's because that single manifest body among the myriad things. Master Wei Tong once went with layman Wangshan into the mountains, and a fragrant smell suddenly reached them. And Wei Tong said, "Can you smell the perfume of the flowers?" When Wangshan replied that he could, Wei Tong told him, "I have nothing to hide from you." And Wei Tong was awakened in a flash. Nothing to hide. There's nothing hidden. In the Mumonkan, Ananda asked Mahakashapa, he said, besides the bowl and the robe, when the Buddha transmitted the Dharma to you, what else did he give you? And Mahakashapa is called out, "Ananda." And Ananda replied, "Yes, sir." And Mahakashapa said, "Knock down the flagpole at the gate." You say the flag, whenever the Dharma talk is being given in the monasteries or where they gathered, they would raise a flag. And when the talk was over, the flag was lowered. And so Mahakashapa is saying, "What are you looking for then? The talk is over. There's nothing to say. It's just as it is, right here. What more do you want? Nothing is hidden." Yakujo said to Obaku, "I thought I swallowed heaven and earth, but I see you've swallowed heaven and earth too." See? Just seeing face to face. That's what we call it, face to face transmission. When teacher and student become one, there's no longer junior and senior. And then we can eat this food with everyone. Nothing's hidden. So please, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, your continuous practice will create the seeds of the Buddha. Continuous practice. What does that mean? Always. And then you'll be okay. We'll all be okay. So, let's carry it forward as one manifest body among the myriad things.